Well, welcome to another episode of Let's Talk. I'm your host, Denise Rollard Barnes, publisher of the Washington Informer, and coming to you still from Chicago, Illinois. Yes, our first segment is pre-recorded. We did plenty of interviews here in Chicago, and I certainly want you to sit back and enjoy all of the DC folks and others that we talked to that were here at this Democratic National Convention 2024 at the United Center, again, here in Chicago, Illinois. I'm going to tell you, the atmosphere was electrifying, and I hope you took some time, if you weren't here yourselves, but on your TV screens to witness the incredible moment when Vice President Kamala Harris accepted the nomination for President of the United States of America. It was an amazing event and put some perspective in it as they, focused in on Fannie Lou Hamer. It was 1964, I believe, when she gave her speech on the floor of the Democratic National Convention, also here in Chicago, and also to see Reverend Jesse Jackson as he was coming through all of the venues. I mean, he stayed busy this weekend, but we give true ups or, congratulations to him for all the work that he did to lay the groundwork for what we saw here this last night and this whole week in Chicago. So to ensure Vice President Harris's success, and if that's what's on your agenda, you have to do what former First Lady Michelle Obama said: we've got to do something. So anyway, before we jump into our conversations, I hope you picked up a copy of the most recent issue of the Washington Informer. For those who are out of town, I'm having the same experience that you have. I can only read it online, which is great, at WashingtonInformer.com. But but you can pick it up in over 400 newsstands across the Washington metropolitan area. So when my co-host Brenda Seiler comes on, she'll present you with the copy of that print edition, like I always like to do, so that you can hopefully go out on newsstands and get the paper yourself. You can access the Washington Informer by becoming a subscriber. If you go to the website, you'll see a little thing right there that says become a subscriber. And when you give us your email address, you'll receive news updates in your mailbox every day, as well as the Washington Informer, which comes out on Thursday. You'll get a chance to see the electronic print edition and so much more that the Washington Informer is engaged with. So we hope that you'll sign up. We want you to be a part of the Informer family. Please take a moment to share this broadcast on your social media platforms. You can follow us on Facebook, IG, X, TikTok, Threads, Nextdoor, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Wherever you are, we are. And if we're not there, let us know, because we want to make sure that you always have access to the Washington Informer. We want you to also subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is Washington Informer TV. No spaces, just Washington Informer TV, where you will find some of the conversations you may have missed and so much more that we are actually gathering and presenting to you to make sure that we can give you the news from our perspective. I always say Black folks, we don't speak or give Black folks a voice or the Black community a voice. We amplify the voice. We know the voices. We know that you all are out there doing things, and these are the places where we want folks to know what you're doing that's benefiting our community. Before we get into the pre-recorded interviews with some of the district officials who were here in Chicago, let's watch this news broadcast by Curtis Knowles, and then I'll be turning the program over to Brenda Seiler. So again, watch the news broadcast, watch the great coverage we tried to give you from Chicago, Illinois, and the next person you'll see after all that will be Brenda Seiler. Again, I'll be back next week right here, so we hope you'll continue to watch and enjoy the show.
This is WIN TV News, bringing you the news that matters.
DC Councilmember Trayon White was arrested by FBI agents Sunday afternoon with bribery charges. White allegedly agreed to accept $156,000 in cash payments in exchange for leveraging his political position to pressure employees in the Office of the Neighborhood of Safety and Engagement and DC's Department of Youth and Rehabilitative Services to extend contracts totaling in $5 million to two companies that provide violence interruption services in the district. If convicted, White faces up to 15 years in prison, with his due date in court on September 19th for a status hearing. DC Council Chairman Phil Mendelson revealed that in accordance with the council's rules, he will set up an ad hoc committee to examine the situation, including evidence of wrongdoing and questions about the council member's residency. DC Attorney General Brian Schwab announced that Kenmore Pest Control and Termite Services, LLC, Kenmore, will pay $137,000 in penalties and environmental cleanup costs after allegations of the company repeatedly and illegally applied pesticides, endangering district residents and damaging the city's natural resources. The investigation revealed that Kenmore, based in Forestville, Maryland, violated district law by improperly applying highly toxic pesticides around apartment complexes in Columbia Heights Village in Ward 1 and Mayfair Mansion Apartments in Ward 7. The district government was forced to intervene to protect the environment and human health, incurring over $12,000 in expenses cleaning up the contaminated soil. A slew of unplanned computer dispatch outages, major staffing shortages, and a criminal probe hang over Washington, D.C.'s 911 center, a center that residents and visitors rely on to get help in emergencies. So far this year, the computer system that is used to dispatch such services has had at least 7 outages. Government officials said Monday that there have been a total of 18 disruptions to the system since December of 2023. An outage on August 2nd is being investigated by police as they seek to understand whether it was a human error or a nefarious act that was brought the system down. Mayor Bowser commented saying, quote, "The MPD should question the employees involved, whether it was a single person or whether there were people who observed that activity, because I wanted to make sure it was a human error. We should be able, with the director of OUC, our technology office, and the MPD, to tell me if it was the case."
So, Mayor Bowser, you got a chance on Tuesday night to offer the nomination for the District of Columbia. Now, this isn't your first time, right?
It's my third time.
Your third time.
You can believe
God,
that.
Third time's a charm.
Yes,
Right.
as they say.
Tell me what that experience
Well, it was a lot
like.
of fun. The first time I was in Philadelphia for Hillary Clinton. For Joe Biden, we cast the votes virtually. And so the excitement in this arena was just really electric. And the way they handled the roll call of all the delegations, I just thought was so inclusive. It's so much fun and really reflects the joyful campaign that Vice President Harris wants to run and is running.
And then, of course, our ask, which you were very clear on, was making DC the 51st state.
Making DC the 51st state. And since Hillary Clinton, the Democratic nominee, has endorsed DC statehood and has included it as part of the Democratic platform. And we have grown in that time with adding a new vote from DC residents to support statehood, up by 86%, 2 votes in the House, more senators supporting statehood than ever before. So we think that if Kamala Harris can use this great energy, not just to defeat Donald Trump, but to hold the Senate and win the House, that we have a good shot.
Now, I know you don't have a lot of time, so I'm not going to hold you long, but I think it's important for people to know what's at stake for the District of Columbia.
Yeah.
Because if this election doesn't turn out as many want the results to be, people already are feeling threatened about what could happen. Can you articulate a little bit
I think the phrase "we won't go back" is really it touches my heart, because the stated intention of Donald Trump is to send the district back to pre-home rule times, where we had cronies of the federal government running our city. And that could mean loss of elected representation. That could mean some more oversight over how we tax and spend our own money. That could mean a different way of operating our schools or police departments. It could mean a District of Columbia that we wouldn't recognize. And so, as fate or God would have it, that's not how it's supposed to be. And I just think that Joe Biden's selfless decision to step aside, pass the torch to a woman who is ready, who is tested, battle tested, and is very effective electorally and in all the ways that she governs. It's just perfect. It's perfect for our nation. It's perfect for us.
So in closing, we were graced with the Obamas last night.
Yes.
Michelle Obama was very clear.
Yes.
Don't wait for the phone call. You know what you need to do.
That was my favorite part.
So what would you tell DC voters?
I would, it's interesting because that was literally my favorite line. She said, don't wait for somebody to call to ask you what to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Don't wait for somebody to ask you for your support. I'm asking you. And that's an important thing to say when you're running a truncated campaign. There's not a lot of time for, as she said, foolishness or some of the things that people are used to in campaigns. We just got to get out there and win. And our candidate is working her heart out, and we have to support her. And the other thing that I think is so important that came from Michelle is to know, like, this next 76, this is a grudge match. This is hard. This is, people will be down in the gutter fighting. And there's nothing more than they would like to do than to pull our candidate down there with her. So we want to let her focus on what she has to do, and we want to do the fighting and the fighting for her. So that could mean arguments with friends. That could mean us in our communities. And we know there's some affinity sometimes with this machismo that Donald Trump puts out with our men, and we have to kind of disrupt that to make sure that people know that that's just fake bluster, and it doesn't really improve our lives. And so we want to support somebody whose policies, whose temperament, whose empathetic approach will really change lives in our country.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Stopping by.
My pleasure.
Again, we still extend our condolences. I'm a daddy's girl, so I understand what you are as well.
Yes.
So I'm glad that we're able to make it here,
Yes.
represent us, and send those votes.
Thank you. Go vote.
All right.
Kamala.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
So, as I say, the superstars in my life keep coming. And now we have Ward 5 Council Member Zachary Parker here at the DNC in Chicago. We're at what hotel is this?
The Palmer House.
Palmer House Hotel in
Very
Chicago,
historic
Illinois.
hotel.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Okay, now you're putting me on the spot, but I know it's a historic hotel.
Okay, it looks like it. It
Yes,
looks like
yes.
it. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're actually here to talk about you being here, DC being in the House, and statehood, all of that. What has been the highlight for you so far?
It's been an amazing experience. This is my first Democratic convention, and it's been an amazing thrill to watch just how energized the base and voters are to support this presidential ticket. It's been great to look at the Democratic platform and see that DC statehood is officially in the platform. It's been great to hear discussions about policy. And so all in all, it's been an amazing experience. If I could say, like just yesterday, we witnessed the Obamas give their remarks, and the energy in the room was electric. And so I'm hoping that we can continue that through the election.
I talked to you earlier, and I think one of the things that inspires many of us, I was talking to Ernie Jarvis about this earlier, and that is the passing of the baton.
Yes.
And when we think about the District of Columbia, where we're seeing that happen, I mean, you are one of the newer, younger leaders that is now on the city council. Tell me how that inspires you.
It's instructive and it's inspiring. I will say the passing of the baton is not always easy. And we know that it's essential because the issues that are confronting our city, the issues that are confronting our nation, call for fresh, vibrant leadership to take the baton to the next level. And so I'm inspired. I would also say what we're witnessing here in Chicago for the convention and throughout the country is a level of excitement that I don't think would have happened if there wasn't fresh, younger leadership at the head of the ticket.
And it sounds like there's a diversity of issues, you know,
Yes.
which I think you stand for and represent as well.
That's right.
All of those things are coming out, and it shows. I don't know. You tell me. I don't want to tell you what I think it shows, but you know, just how it shapes the Democratic
it
Party.
represents the slogan for this convention and this campaign, which is freedom. You hear Vice President Kamala Harris talk about that, but when she talks about implementing and expanding a child tax credit, by the way, the child tax credit, when it was implemented federally, slashed child poverty rates in half. It was the single most effective anti-poverty measure implemented in this country in more than 50 years. And so when she talks about advancing policies like that, she's talking about freedom for young people to be able to grow and thrive. When she talks about women having control over their bodies and making decisions for themselves, she's talking about women having the freedom to make their own healthcare decisions. When she's talking about a down payment assistance and building more units across the country, she's talking about the freedom of dignity and having housing. And so, for me, it is not just this hyperbolic or superficial excitement, but what Vice President Harris is putting forth are policies that are going to make the difference for young people like myself and the rest of the country.
I know it's only now it's day 3.
Yes, it's a blur. I feel like we've been going around the clock.
Right, and this program actually airs Friday.
Okay.
Friday, so it'll be sort of like looking into the future, but looking back to the future, what have you. But I have to say, up to this point, what's been sort of the highlight for you?
The highlight is being in the room, not to be cliche, but like that Hamilton saying, you want to be in the room where it's happening and you're literally witnessing time being passed from President Biden to Vice President Harris. And you see the sacrifice of older voters who are literally, I saw one woman, she was crying as the speakers were making the case for why we need to vote for Vice President Harris, to seeing young people being energized and being willing to knock on doors and vote. And so for me, this experience has just been, I use the word transcendent because I'm leaving fired up, ready and willing to do everything I can. I know in DC, we often think our votes don't really count. And so, I've been encouraging friends and everybody I know, we need to make phone calls, we need to donate, we need to get on a bus, go to Maryland, go to Pennsylvania, elsewhere, to just make the case and do our part to ensure that we can elect Vice President Harris as the next president.
Because what's at stake?
Literally life and death. I think we need to take the threat that Donald Trump poses very seriously, the threat for our democracy, the threat for our lives, the threat for the ability for us to have the freedoms that we take for granted. I don't think that's a given. Democracy is fragile, as it's often said, and I think many young folk take for granted what many of our grandparents and great-grandparents had to fight so hard for. And so for me, what's at stake is our livelihoods. It's a matter of life and death.
Okay. Well, Zachary Parker, Ward 5 council member, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Mom, welcome to Let's Talk.
Oh, it's an honor to be here.
Yeah.
I appreciate the invitation. And in fact, the spirits are so high here. You can see it, the radiation in you and so many other people. Very positive, too.
Oh, yeah.
Very positive.
Yeah.
Certainly something our nation needs.
Yeah. So you delivered the opening prayer last night.
Yes.
And when did you know that they were going to ask you to do this?
I think they may have asked me maybe 2 weeks before.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 2 weeks before.
And what is that like? That's got to be, that's a lot of pressure. Now, maybe for you it's not, because you've traveled around the world and you prayed for a lot of folks, and you are a global citizen in many ways.
Yeah.
But to know that you're opening for the first woman who may receive the nomination.
Yes.
What did that mean?
No,
to
it's
you?
a lot of pressure. I've been on a lot of stages. I've been on some big stages. That's probably that's probably the biggest stage. And so you have a lot of pressure. Again, it was an honor for our community, history in DC. And then, in fact, being a Muslim, and of course, now we're universal, which means that we're not only just representing African Americans, African American Muslims, but we're looked at, by Muslims who migrate from all around the world, and they have some different expressions sometimes about the things that we do. So being able to say something then with the trouble that we have in the world, not just in the Gaza or Israeli peace, but also other places in the world, things that are happening. So people that are listening want to know. So I wanted to make sure that whatever I said, it was broad enough to cover a lot of things. So and it takes time, because you're going to be on the stage later, and that You can't please everybody, but this is an elevated time. It's a historical time, and I wanted to make sure that it obviously preserved our dignity, as a people, as a community, and then help to contribute to the elevation that we're seeing already. We're already seeing it, and so it was not easy. And then you start out with 4 minutes, then it's dropped down to 2 minutes, and then of course at the last minute they have to take off more because they say things have been getting so tight.
Oh wow!
And then you have to try to make sure, because you build it to express some things I'm saying and to accomplish some of the things that we're saying to help people broaden their perspective, even on issues that they may be narrow on. And so that was to trim it down, and then at the last, literally at the last minute,
Before you walked out,
I actually arrived at the convention center, and then said, "Did you get that email that you need to cut it down some more?"
Oh wow! So you had to present, you had to prepare, deliver, they review, and then every time they kept shortening it.
Yes, and I understand. They explained that they had a big entertainer. I forgot his name. You all know him. I know him. And he didn't even get to perform. He rehearsed, and the rehearsal was spectacular. But because things got so tight, he couldn't perform during the actual case. And then they said it went 2 hours over. And so I understood. Yeah, I know these things go. And then because I understood also that 4 weeks ago it was going in a whole other direction. Yeah, things changed. In fact, exactly. And everybody I spoke to that was on the team, now everybody I spoke to, backstage service, none of them were on the team 4 weeks ago. Wow. So we got all some new people, and then of course things have to change. Secret Service coming in, everything. And I understood it. And I did 30 years in the Air Force too. And then I'm leaving traveling to different things. Yeah. So former First Lady Michelle Obama talked about, how this shifted so quickly. Yes. But let me ask you really, really quickly. Just the diversity. One of the things we talked about is diversity, but diversity of faiths. Yes. And so why is that important? Well, it's very important. Yeah. That's very important because even in light of what we're seeing on the world stage right now, a lot of that involves faith identities. Mm-hmm. That are being disparaged. In fact, people are being killed because of their faith. This is very important. It's certainly, they made it, and obviously the call made it very clear that they are committed. The DNC is committed. The candidates, they're very committed, to the foundational values that this country is built upon and the laws. They wanted to make that statement. They wanted to make that statement clear. And we've seen it as that as we had the conversation. So that's important. This is America. Colin Powell said this is the last best hope for the world. And in a sense that is, because there was not a society like the American society for, I think, about 1,400 years. And when you look at history, to be honest, we had, everybody was democratic, totalitarian. You had the sultanic powers, you had the kings. You didn't have a democracy like this. And so a lot of people looking at this. So this is why it's important that you be reflective of the human picture, and to get people to look at the human and not to get focused on weaponizing religious identities. We have to tone that down. That's why this is very important. So before we go, I just want to ask one question, because you're over the masjid on New Jersey Avenue. You all just got a grant because you have it's a historic site. Very historic. Can you talk about that just a little bit? This site, because the community has been in DC almost 90 years now, which is a long time for Islam in America in the public. And of course, it was made public by the likes of Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, etc. But this masjid is the only masjid, only mosque in America's history that Malcolm X helped to build from the ground up. And I just learned that last year. Yes, that's the case. A lot of people didn't know that. Yeah. Even the members didn't think about it because they feel like you're a part of something. You don't even think about the history. And it's also the first one built from the ground up by American citizens. They just happen to be descendants of enslaved Africans. And of course, this was under the leadership of Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He went to Saudi Arabia to what's called a minor Hajj in the 50s, late 50s. In fact, he said, we have to have mosques like they have over there. He said, I want the first one to be in Washington, D.C. Wow, that's amazing. But little did he know at that time that the American citizens had not built one. Immigrants had built mosques. The first ones in America were built by migrants. They didn't have citizenship status out in Iowa and the Dakotas. But the one that was built, and he didn't know it at the time, but it ended up being the first one built from the ground up by American citizens, and certainly by descendants of enslaved Africans.
Well, this
Very
whole
historic.
conversation is just filled with congratulations. Congratulations on being representing the District of Columbia, representing the Muslim community, and to speak last night at the Democratic National Convention. And congratulations on the what's going to happen there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We certainly appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I'll make sure the community hears that as well. And of course, they'll be also directed to their favorite newspaper, Washington Informer, to get it also.
All right, I appreciate that.
Thank you again.
Thank you so much, and enjoy the conference. Yes. Okay, all righty. So, as I said, Chicago is lit up. The stars are just shining, and everything is really excited here, and I'm glad to have one of them in the room. Like I said, everybody stops to talk to me, and Let's Talk to Me, in my mind, is a star, especially representing the District of Columbia. So we have at-large council member Robert White, who stopped by just to talk to us for a few minutes.
That's
and
right.
This is your first convention?
Yes. Yeah, my first one. It's historic. I'm not a delegate, but I felt like I could not miss this historic moment, and I'm so glad I'm here. I mean, the city has been electric. The speakers, the energy, the messages have been phenomenal, and I think our DC delegation has really made us proud.
So I didn't get a chance to ask the mayor, but I definitely have to ask you, because one of the things I know that, you know, to host an event like this, and we're going to get ready hopefully for an inauguration.
Yes.
We do big events. How well do you think Chicago's done?
I think, look, I don't have anything to compare it to,
Right.
because it's my first one. But I think Chicago has done a great job with security. If I'm being honest, traffic management on day one was rough, but like that happens. That's life. But they've done a great job with safety. It's been easy to get around the city, other than the barriers. I think a lot of businesses closed, so traffic has been easy. And Chicago is a beautiful city. You know, I'm always biased to DC, but I gotta give respect where respect is due, and it's a beautiful city.
So what have you enjoyed, I think, the most over the last couple of days?
The thing I've enjoyed the most, aside from Michelle Obama, who is in a class of her own, is the unity and spirit of people here and people in the party. So often we can get caught in the divisions, and usually the divisions are this big and the things we agree on are this big, but we get stuck here. But you see, AOC, far left of the party, to, seasoned moderate Democrats like, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, speaking the same language, saying this is time for us to come together. This is why it's important. And I love that spirit, because I believe in our democracy. I believe in our country, but it has to work. And I think Barack Obama said it really well yesterday. The world is watching. The idea of democracy, this experiment, is still very new. And it, to some people's view, is on the precipice of collapse. But the energy I see here is that the people will sustain a democratic government.
It's something that I didn't really focus on until last night. I mean, I thought about it. Again, you talk about democracy, you talk about America being a melting pot, you talk about people who've come around the world and made this place a home. And there's no other place in the world like America. And to be honest, like Washington, D.C.
That's right.
And you see that here in the district, where there's so many different interests that you all have to represent. What's the way for you as it relates to being an elected official in the District of Columbia?
Well, I've been proud in DC as a council member. The council members and the mayor, we are decently well known locally, in our jobs. Matter a lot. Here is the delegates that people elect. The same people elected me, elected our delegates, because that's the style of democracy we have. To see them do their work, to see the party at work, has been just really cool for me to see. But also walking around today with my Washington, D.C. 51st state hat, people stopping me, thumbs up, talking to me, folks from Philly. So there's a uniqueness to, yes, our democracy, but a uniqueness to DC. And it's just seeing it all work has been an amazing experience.
So the work actually starts when folks get back home.
That's right.
What do you expect to see in the District of Columbia following this, electric event? How do we keep the lights on, the electricity flowing when we get
That's
back
right.
home?
Excitement won't get us over the finish line, but we know that DC is going for Kamala Harris. But we don't know that Pennsylvania is. We don't know that Georgia is. So what I expect from when we get home is that Democrats, our delegation, our elected officials are going to come together, make sure we are using our platforms to recruit DC residents to go into battleground states and jurisdictions to knock on doors and do the work. And I'm committed to doing that.
Okay. So anything else you want to add about, your experience here? Why would somebody want to come to a thing like this in 4 more years?
I think you don't know until you get here. I didn't know what I was missing. I was never, wasn't top of my list. I have so much work to do at home, but people should go because this is really watching democracy at work and seeing other people who, some people are passive in elections. Some people are active. They get excited. Their excitement is what drives the rest of the train. So I feel like I'm at the front of the train right now. These are the people that get excited over democracy and push us forward. But there's excitement on the Republican side too. So we need to make sure, as you said, our excitement translates to something else back at home.
Right. Well, Councilmember Wright, thank you so very much for being with
me.
I don't know if there's something I should have asked that I didn't.
I think that's
But I appreciate you stopping by. We've got 2 more days.
Yes.
Tonight, you're going to hear the Vice President speak. Tomorrow, you will hear the nominee accept the nomination.
Yes.
This show will air on Friday, but is there, sort of looking forward or looking back?
Yes.
What do you expect to have happen on that night? How do you think you're going to go home?
I already know I'm going home overwhelmed with excitement. I encourage people who didn't see last night, the second night of the convention, go back and watch. Watch The First Gentleman. Watch Michelle Obama, watch Barack Obama. It was a masterclass in diplomacy, in messaging, in energizing the base. And I think seeing Kamala Harris, a woman of color, accept the nomination of our party is going to be a beautiful thing. And as the father of 2 Black girls, I'm excited to see history being made.
Well, I'd add one more thing.
Yeah.
Listen to the go-go music as the mayor delivers the votes from the District of Columbia.
Yes, indeed.
You gotta feel
and the
proud
applause.
of that moment and the applause that came after
Yes,
that,
indeed.
and all of our delegates, as you said, that were out there. So again, thanks again for
Absolutely.
stopping by.
Thanks to the Informer for covering it.
Appreciate it. Okay,
Thank you.
all right.
Good to see you.
I said the stars just keep shining, and I've got another star, close friend, and Ward 8 Atorian, as she calls herself. I think I got it right. Wanda Durant, who is here at the Democratic National Convention here in Chicago, and has been here since, Tuesday?
I arrived on Tuesday.
Okay.
Yes,
all
I
right.
arrived on Tuesday.
You have had a chance to experience a lot. Speeches last night. Tell me, what's been the highlight for you?
One of the highlights for me last night was the former First Lady, Michelle Obama. She was the star. One of the things that stood out with me last night is, we have a certain many days left before the election. She said, don't expect a call. We know what we have to do. And so I'm reiterating that. We know what we have to do in this party. We know that we have to elect her in November. DC is dependent on this. She supports statehood. She's ready for it. We're going to get the House, we're going to get the Senate, and we're going to get statehood. We're going to be the 51st state. We're going to do that. We're ready.
You are another person. I talked to Jeanette Mobley earlier, and you're someone who has been engaged in politics most of your adult life. And but you never run for office.
No.
But you've always supported people who did run for office.
Yes.
But tell me, why has politics been sort of that, that fascination or that interest, and why have you stayed engaged?
Yeah. So I guess I started at a really early age, probably like 16, 17, 18. I was one of the youngest, at one point, the youngest ANC elected in Washington, D.C. And I frankly started out just listening, rolling up my sleeves. People say, you want to volunteer. Volunteer is so important to know what's going on in your community. And quite frankly, if I can just be honest, I was just like really nosy. I wanted to always know what was happening in our community. And so I would get engaged, ran for the ANC commission, in an area that represented about 2,500 people. And you learn so much about what's happening. And it's important to know what's going on in your community. You need to know about the policies that's affecting your life day in and day out. You need to know about the budget, where money is going. And so I stayed involved because, again, it's important. I want my family, my kids to know that this is what you need to do. Voting is something that we need to do. If we go back and look at our ancestors having to count jelly beans in a jar before they could vote, there's no reason why we should be doing that today. We should be exercising. And there's so many ways to vote. You can by mail, in person. So there's no excuse. Everybody listen in Washington, D.C., if you all know me, Wanda Lockridge, a Ward 8 Etonian, make sure you go out and vote. It is important. This president, this former president, is trying to take away our democracy in Ward 8 or in D.C. completely. He wants to take over the federal government or the D.C. with no mayor, no council. And we can't have that to happen. We just cannot sit back. So D.C. is sort of kind of easier, but we got to do Maryland. We have to go to Pennsylvania. All of those states that's battleground, we need to be there.
So one of the things I keep mentioning that I'm really fascinated with, and I've seen it happen in the District of Columbia when it comes to the passing of the baton, you know, the younger leadership now coming forward. So what do you think about that messaging when it comes to, if you look at our own city council, it's a new council, a younger council. What do you think about that?
I love the idea. I've always been supportive of young people. If you looked at Martin Luther King and all the ones that made a difference, they were young. They had great ideas. There's so much new technology coming through now that some of us know, some of us use, but they have great ideas. This generation of individuals, they innovative, they are smart, and I think it's time for us to, like, even if you holding a position right now, is to bring them along so they can see the process as we begin to phase out. I absolutely support young people coming on board. I mean, I do a lot of things with young people now, and just giving them the exposure and the opportunity, I'm cheering for them.
That's right. And we talked about it earlier. We had you on the show not too long ago talking about the William O. Lockridge Foundation, who was a school board member for many. Your late husband, a school board member for years. Again, politics runs in your blood. I think it's stopping though right now. I think the next generation in your household has said, I'm keeping my hands clean of that.
I think you're absolutely right. My son, I mean, he's lived in it his entire life, and so he'll go and vote because he knows that I'm not going to have it any other way. But in terms of him getting engaged like that, I think it stops at me.
But we have to say, as a Black man who has decided to dedicate his life to the classroom and the education of young people, that is where it all begins, in the classroom.
Absolutely.
So I pay tribute to him for being there, teaching our kids.
He's third generation. Third generation educator.
So is there anything you might want to add that I didn't ask about your experience here?
My experience here, I'm looking forward to tomorrow night. I'm looking forward to the first woman president to take the nomination tomorrow night. I'm super excited. You might hear me in DC on the floor tomorrow night because I'm super excited about and being here. Quite frankly, just the historic part of just seeing this, it has been electrifying for me to see the energy and the excitement that this woman, I had my shirt on that had a comma la on it yesterday, but to see the excitement that she's brought to this party, and it's come alive again, and I'm ready for it. I'm ready.
Everybody's here.
Everybody's here.
Now, I can't tell you, I was really excited that Sherry was able to bring over, of all people, Anthony Anderson. It was really nice to talk to him. But is there anybody you met, that you can say, wow, I met them at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago?
Listen, and forgive me with the name, but I love this program, Shy. And I went up to this sister. She's one of the actors, and then she plays the mother. She's the major star. She's the major role. So I went up to her and I said, if there's anybody I want to take a picture with, it's you. She was like, come on, sister, turn around this way, turn around that way. And I absolutely love her. I'm gonna get her name the next time I see you. But I love her, love her. So yeah, that was, and I'm really not a starstruck person, but today I sort of kind of was. I sort of kind of was there.
Wonderful. And then the last thing I want to ask is just about this whole issue of statehood. We saw the mayor, deliver the votes last night on the floor. We saw our own Stuart Anderson, who was able to second the vote to add statehood to the platform.
Yes.
DC has really been working hard. Anything you want to say about that?
I think this is the best chance that we have moving forward. We just left an episode where there are just a number of stars talking about their support for it. We know that Vice President Harris is supportive of statehood. And I believe what the mayor said, this should be the first 100-day. It should be a 100-day agenda to move this forward. And I think we're there. We're closer than we ever have been with statehood. And we need to have our own right to control our own destination in Washington, D.C.
All right. Wanda Lockridge, Ward 8 Torian, Washington,
Tonian.
I'm sorry, Tonian, Washington, D.C. And so thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Okie doke.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Brenda Seiler, lifestyle reporter with the Washington Informer, and we thank our team that was up at the Democratic National Convention up in Chicago. That was Denise Rollock Barnes, our publisher of the Washington Informer, who was conducting interviews with our legislative leaders here in Washington, D.C. Also there in town was Stacey Brown, one of our national reporters, Misha Green, who was our managing editor, and Chevry Lassiter, who was our photo editor and also co-executive producer of Let's Talk. They were all there working. I've talked to a couple of them and they've lost their voices because I think they were all caught up in the joy that was being spread up in Chicago. So there was a lot of hooping and hollering going on up there. But I'm excited about who we are about to talk to because he's going to tell us about how to manage all those streaming services that we have subscribed to. And I'm so excited to introduce to you all Gatsby Frimpong. Did I pronounce your last name correctly? Frimpong?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Gatsby, for being here. I immediately knew I wanted to talk to you. I was an English major in college, so I know about the great Gatsby. And I think that's what you are trying to do with your business, Gatsby TV. You are the co-founder, but you have also are the creator of an app, a free app. And you're going to help explain to us how to manage all of these streaming channels that are coming from here and there. Tell me how you came up with this concept.
Yeah, no problem at all. So like millions of Americans, I would get home from a long day of work and essentially have the same problem. I'd be sitting there with my partner and her and I would basically be going back and forth as to what we wanted to watch, and 15, 30, 45 minutes would pass. And then it was almost bedtime. So I decided, hey, I'd really like to enjoy time with my family. And rather than sitting around trying to figure out what to watch, I want to watch something. And so, yeah, that was sort of the genesis of the idea.
Now, you studied at Stanford. You're a graduate of Stanford University. Tell me what you were studying in college that led you on this path of creating an app.
Yeah, no problem at all. So I've been to 3 schools as of now, Coastal Carolina for undergrad, and went to Stanford and UC Berkeley for graduate school. At both schools, I was in engineering, so doing data science, computer engineering, design engineering, all sorts of stuff. So a lot of engineering stuff. That's kind of what the 2 West Coast schools are known for. And I did economics in undergrad, so I had a little bit of a business background. And for me, especially with the advent of AI, I think that the days of engineers may be numbered, because with ChatGPT and some of these tools, you can basically tell it what type of program or application you want, and it can create it for you. But for me, I started prior to ChatGPT and prior to AI, so had to build it along with a few other folks I know who are engineers. And yeah, that's kind of what got us started.
For those of you all who are just tuning in, I am talking to Gatsby Frimpong. He has created an app that will allow you to decipher and work through and figure out how to manage all of the programs that you want to try to watch with the various streaming channels that you have subscribed to and probably didn't even realize you had subscribed to, because those streaming channels are packaged in a way where you have to go in. It's like, well, what's on this channel? And it's not just the main landing page of the channel. They've got all these other channels that you can get to off of the main page. That's what I have been able to discover. One of the things I do in my job is that I do previews and reviews of movies and TV shows, and most of them are streamed. So I need to have streaming services. But talk about something that you alluded to, that you and your partner, you all are trying to figure out what you want to get. And if both of you have the app and you've programmed in what you want, does there any conflict? Do they meet up and like, wait a minute, do your selections bump heads sometimes?
Yeah, no problem at all. So basically the way the app works is when we think about the way search works today, you're supposed to type something into a box and then it tells you where to find it. But ultimately, a lot of times what ends up happening is we get to that search box and we actually don't know what we're looking for, right? So it actually creates anxiety to look into something and not know exactly what you're looking for. So with the app, what we sort of figured out via surveys, interviewing, talking to people on the ground is that how most people actually find things to watch on TV is via recommendations from people they know and like the water cooler, talking to someone at work, or at brunch, someone's telling you about a new show that they just started watching. And generally what happens is you're supposed to commit that recommendation to memory, and most people don't. You know, the long-term memory is pretty fragile, especially the older you get, right? So within the app, what you can do is you can actually send a recommendation to your friend right on the spot, and next time that they're ready to watch something on TV,
I think we had a little bit of a blip there. I didn't hear the last end of what Gatsby was saying. I hope that he's still connected. I'm looking at my chat to make sure with our associate producer, Jaman, that we're still attached to Gatsby. So what, there you are. Problem. Okay, we missed you for a minute. We were talking about, we can't remember what we last saw. So the mind doesn't work that way. We're capturing too much in the brain right now.
Yeah, exactly. So what ends up happening is you can send a recommendation to your friend or your family member, and the next time that they sit down to watch something via subscription, what will end up happening is they can click on the recommendation you sent them, and our app will show them where they can watch any TV show, whether it be subscription, rent it, buy it, whatever it may be. And so you can say to yourself, okay, like I know where to watch this now, and then you can go to your Netflix, your Hulu, your Amazon Prime, whatever it may be. So it's about being able to store those recommendations somewhere, and then also know where you can watch that TV show, whether it be subscription, buy, or rent it.
And we've got an image of the app, of how it looks when you bring it up on your phone. And what we were saying earlier in the show, it's a free downloadable app. You can get it free through all of the various Google Play, the Apple Store, and that's good because we're already paying for the streaming service. So we don't want to have to pay for too much else. Now, working the app, one of the things that a lot of people run into when they download an app, they can't figure it out. Just talk about how user-friendly this app is.
Yeah, it's really user-friendly. So a big part of my background is design. And like I said before, at Stanford, it's a really big part of sort of the engineering practice is being able to create things that are extremely intuitive to users. And so when you go into the app, you can immediately figure out what the app is for. Another thing that you can do in there is that you can add things to your watch list. We found that to be a feature people really love is when someone tells them about something or think about something, just having an app that they can take out and then marking a TV show or movie to watch later. And then what people do is when they're coming back later on that evening, maybe over the weekend, they say, oh yeah, what do I have on my watch list? And again, because we have all of the TV shows and movies available in the English speaking world, anything you type in, you can add to your watch list. And then again, be able to see where you can watch that thing for free subscription or where you can buy it. So really intuitive. Gatsby TV is available in the iOS App Store. It's available on the Google Play Store. And if you want to, you can go to our website. And so it's available in multiple different places in regards to what platform you're planning to use it on.
Now, is it Gatsby TV, all one word? I've also seen it, I think, as Gatsby_TV. What should we be looking for to make sure we're downloading the right app?
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for asking. So you can type either Gatsby space TV, or you can type in the word Gatsby. It generally show up. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And like I said, it's downloadable. It's a free download and something that you can use for free regardless. There's no paid options.
Gatsby Frimpong, thank you for creating this app. Thank you for making watching television a slight bit easier. We just need now have, like you said in the beginning, the energy to stay up and actually watch what we have programmed into the app. And all the best to you. And thank you for spending time with us to tell us about this app that you've created. And all the best of luck to you with it.
All right. Thank you, Brenda. I really appreciate it. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Have a great day. Thank you.
All right. I'll see you. Bye.
Next we've got coming up with us, to us, for us, somebody who we love. And it's Wanda Durant. You know who she is. And I'm going to wait for her to come through. She's got some things that she wants to share with us in terms of what the Durant family, Charities is doing this weekend. Hello, Wanda, are you there? Oh, she's not here yet. Okay, thank you, Jamon. Let me just tell you a little bit about what they're doing this weekend. And I believe they've done this for a couple of years now. The Durant is hosting, the Durant Center is hosting a back to school community day tomorrow. And it's a part of the work that they do under the umbrella of the Family Foundation. Wanda Durant is the mother of Kevin Durant, who plays for the Phoenix Suns. The thing that I hope when I can ask her when Wanda gets here is we saw her on TV during the Olympics when the U.S. men's team got their gold medal. I believe it was their 8th gold medal. So we want to hear about that. But one of the things that the Durant Family Foundation is going to be doing tomorrow is having a backpack giveaway. And like I said, they've been doing this for a couple of years. We're going to get a little more information about it. And we want to hear about some other things that they are doing. They are so committed. We see Wanda everywhere around the DMV, letting us know what the foundation is doing and letting us see her and knowing that they are working for families and kids here in the DMV. And as we're waiting for a little more time to get her on here, I want to bounce back to something else that we discussed a little earlier when Denise was on, and that is, and I want to let Jamon know that I'm holding up the current edition of the Washington Informer that is full of information in the DC area that we are covering. We are making sure that we are covering the news about what's happening in the DC area that not only is relevant to you, but bringing you facts that other media are not giving you. And one of the things that this issue is doing, especially you can see it right from the front page, it's all about local and national politics. You heard Denise talk to some of the city council members and also the Mayor Bowser. We know that one of the things that they were doing in Chicago, in addition to casting their votes, they were advocating for statehood and trying to make sure that we are on the agenda for making the District of Columbia the 51st state. I'm a native Washingtonian. This has been an important issue for our city for quite a long time. Of course, we are covering the fact that we are going to have a woman of color that has been nominated for President of the United States. Her running mate for VP is Tim Walz, an educator, a coach. His background to me also represents what most people are doing. They're middle-class folks. Vice President Kamala Harris also let it be known that she is comes from a middle-class environment and that she is pro the District of Columbia becoming the 51st state. Of course, she would know that because she graduated from Howard University. So she knows what situation that we're in. here in the District of Columbia and what we have been in. So we want to make sure that we pay attention to what's going on. And also, I want to remind you, we will be back here next Friday. The Washington Informer's Let's Talk. Next Friday is an important week for us because we are a partner in DC Jazz Fest. And if you go to the WashingtonInformer.com website, you are going to find a discount code for free entry in the standing area at DC Jazz Fest next week. So that's WashingtonInformer.com. We are a partner with the 20th anniversary of DC Jazz Fest. And we look forward to seeing you next Friday at 12 noon here on Let's Talk. And please have a great weekend. And we will put some information up regarding the event that the Durant Family Foundation is doing. Have a great rest of the day and a great weekend. Bye-bye, everybody.